The year is 2014, and development for one of the best games of all time had truly begun. And after about 3 years of concepting, drawing, animating, and of course coding, it had finally come out. With millions of copies sold, ratings through the roof, several awards won, the game was practically the definition of the word success. Within the following year, not one, but 4 different free DLC add-ons were added between the years 2017 and 2018, with a 5th one teased, but then developed into something bigger. All of that from 2014 to 2018, from a small team of 3 and a vision saw through. What does this have to do with the video? It's because Yandere Simulator is still in development, despite also starting in 2014. It only got its official demo as of 2020, 6 years after the initial momentum the game had gotten. There's no way you haven't heard or seen this game at some point. It is the topic of controversy, especially about a year or so ago, and if you have no idea what I'm talking about, then thanks for watching your first YouTube video in about a decade. Hi, I'm Pindar. I play video games, whatever. We're going to talk about the game that has hurt me the most as of late, and that is... like invincible title card, I don't know. Now, if you look up this game, you'll mostly find stuff talking about the developer being absolutely disgusting, and how the game he's been working on for 11 years is still absolutely garbage. I remember years ago, I loved watching Markiplier's Let's Play series on it, and the Vegeta plays from Team 4-Star, and the game just seemed promising. A little rough around the edges, but that was to be expected. A tad weird, but that it still could be fun. So I, the fool of us all, asked the question, how bad is it really? And so that's what this video is about. How bad is Yandere Simulator, ignoring the developer, and trying to go off just the game itself? So throughout this video, I'll be talking about the gameplay and the mechanics, and what this game overall has to offer, and whether or not it was bad, good, or if it made me just want to end myself, with an overall review of the game as a whole at the end if you're interested. And with all that done, I'll stop yapping, and let's go ahead and get to me yapping. If you somehow don't know anything about this game, just honestly, bravo. But basically, you're a psychopath girl who just really loves her senpai to the point that she won't let anyone else have him. Every week there's a new rival who likes and wants to ask out your senpai, each with different likes, dislikes, school schedule, etc. Obviously, you just can't let this happen, so you have to stop your rival from asking out senpai through any means necessary. Now, there's actually 2 game modes, and one of them is where you play as the main character's mom back in 1980s. But for the bulk of this, we're just going to talk about the main, unfinished game, because most of the mechanics just overlap. You know, let's just go ahead and get started on that. One, it's been 11 years, and there's only 2 of 10 rivals. That's like 5 years of development per rival. I was 7 years old when this game came out, and I'm an adult now, and it's still in development. It says it will be done in about 2 years, and I don't believe it. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the actual main part of the game. The title screen UI. I think it's actually rather well done, and overall, the game just doesn't look awful. It's definitely resource intensive, but I've certainly seen worse games, and especially if we compare to how it looks now versus back when it was first getting really popular, oh boy. I also think that this intro cutscene isn't actually all terrible. Like, the voice acting's... it's okay. The cutscene doesn't look super terrible, even though it hurts my eyes. But then we get into the actual game, and that's where about everything goes downhill incredibly quickly. Here's your tutorial. Yep, it's just a checklist that took me 45 minutes to get through. Literally a huge chunk of this could have just clump it together, ta-da, boom. And the quote-unquote final test only goes over the first couple of things, really. Electrocution, burning, drowning, kidnapping, basically like everything future me is currently highlighting. It's just ignored, basically. This entire tutorial could be implemented better, which makes me mad about the fact that the other game mode I mentioned earlier literally does it better. After the main intro, you get a lovely board, and the game shows you every way to kill your first rival, along with the difficulty of actually pulling such off. Except, you see this little tag down here? Yeah, it means everything is actually just freestyle, and that none of this matters. See, the only upside in choosing a method that isn't freestyle is that the woman who sells you every little bit of information you need, including how to kill your rival off, who's just called InfoChan, will give you that method right off the bat for free. Now, the thing is that the game does not immediately turn on said method, so you have to go and turn that on yourself, which to me was, pretty annoying. I didn't even know that it was unlocked for free, because honestly, there's just so much right here, I didn't really care. Also, for some reason, it states that you can find it under schemes in the pause menu, which is like only a half-truth because it's under favors and then schemes. And that's even if you count using the phone as a pause menu, since you can also press the escape button and get this. Which, this is what I would consider to be the pause menu, but to each their own. Also, the currency is just weird. It's just weird. Like, again, yeah, I said that you can buy anything off of InfoChan, and yeah, sure, but you don't do it through normal money. Well, how do you get it, I hear you ask? Yeah, you take pictures of other girls' panties. Yep. Yeah, that's how you get it. I couldn't figure out an easy way to add this in. It's just kind of weird. Also, for some reason, when you actually spend the currency, it doesn't make a noise or anything. It just takes it away. Which brings me on to the next thing I have to say, and that's that this game literally sucks at guiding you. Because, first off, the game just throws all of this information at you. Like, seriously, holy yap. And second, the steps are not automatic. You know how most games are like, wow, congratulations, you did what we told you, here's the next step. Yeah, no, Yandere Simulator says, screw you. You have to press E plus Control or E plus Shift to go to the next or previous step, which whether or not you did such right, Not to mention that the game also just shames you if you turn off InfoChan's hints, which are basically just the same hint every single time. I literally swear to God. This poorly ties into the game's UI because I can't think of a better transition, and I have too much to talk about. You know, a bit ago, how I said the title screen was actually pretty good? Yeah, that's about where my props to the UIs end. While I do not doubt that some people could literally care less and think that it's fine or even good, I do not agree with those people. The game's overall UI is just bland and uninteresting. The UI for talking to students also just feels cluttered and strange, and in that entire tutorial that I mentioned that I took 45 minutes on, it does not, in fact, go over how to talk to people. Hey, editing Pindar here. Jeez. Yeah, no, it did explain how to socialize with people. I'm kind of just stupid. We're gonna retcon that I said that, okay? Cool. However, though, it is really, really boring to talk to people in this game. Essentially, you just get a handful of options, and you can choose to talk to people, which gives you this, just another terrible UI with a bunch of junk, and you can give people a positive or negative remark, which, depending on their own opinions, will make them more or less of your friend, along with affecting your reputation, which is a different mechanic. We'll get there, just be patient, okay? You also have the option to compliment the person, which I don't think I've ever told someone how sinister they are, or, you know, instead of going, wow, you're so pretty, man, you're attractive, you know, saying that someone's sexy instead, but whatever. The problem with these is that it's just so generic on the likes and dislikes of people. Oh, you're in the music club? Oh boy, I love music. I hate violence. You're in the martial arts club? God, I love it. I hate video games and anime, by the way. Then you just sit back and you watch how they talk about how you have so much in common. Basically, it just boils down to you say, oh man, I love whatever your club is, and honestly, you could probably just say that you hate violence, and they'll probably like you. There's a couple of variations occasionally, but honestly, the overall interactions are just a drag. Compliments are also really weird, because, you know, I'd think that the club leader for the martial arts club would appreciate an attractive, popular girl saying, oh, how strong he looks, but yeah, apparently not. Like, I don't know what these people like anymore, man, but I know that you would like to probably see my future videos if you made it this far, so, you know, subscribe. It makes you look cool. Okay, alright, let's continue. The only point in even dealing with people is to raise your reputation, which the only point in raising your reputation is that the more people like you, the more effective your gossip will become. And also, if your reputation gets too low, then Senpai hates you, and it's game over. However, the most fun part about reputation is the fact that it's practically pointless in almost every single way possible, since you don't need it for most of the kill options. See, talking to people can also make them become your friend, which would give a reason to doing such, but, you know, you can also just press this button, do a small task for them, and then boom, they're just your friend. So something like kidnapping, which requires a person to be your friend, can be achieved pretty quickly, actually. Speaking of kidnapping, one praise that I will give is the sheer number of ways to kill your rival. Like, there's a decent amount of options that you can choose from something as simple as stabbing, to drowning her, to crushing her, having Senpai just reject her, or have the entire school bully her to the point that it turns into a worse Doki Doki Literature Club. You know, let's just go ahead and get to the rival. Essentially, you have 5 days to kill your rival before she plans on asking out Senpai on Friday. Now, you can't just whack her mob style for some reason, because the first of only 2 rivals of what is supposed to be 10 has a best friend who's apparently just... Now, due to the fact that she's always following your rival, she is always a threat. Literally, you cannot take out your rival without her best friend taking you down immediately after, if you even get to that point. She's always going to be a threat until she's taken care of. Now, you can also buy the way to take care of the best friend via InfoChan, and honestly, I think taking care of the best friend would be impossible without her, which I think is a problem on its own. However, I don't think that the rival having somebody that you have to actually plan to take care of is not a terrible idea, and I don't have an issue with it. It forces you to do something other than just walk up, stab the rival, hide the body, and leave. Could it have been implemented better? I mean, yeah, but that's kind of everything in this game, honestly. But the concept isn't awful, and several games have some sort of variation of this, such as Breath of the Wild, which has the Great Plateau, which forces you to learn the game's mechanics before you can go and bum rush Ganon, or how Helldivers 2 forces you to go through basic training for the same idea of just learning the game. The best friend for the rival works in this weird tutorial way, since the only way to deal with her is in any way but the brain dead walk up and stab her method. It forces you to do something else, and then afterwards you're free to just stab the rival, because who cares, you got through the hard part. But then you know what happens? The second rival doesn't have this. Apparently everyone just thought it would be a good time to pick up a book and sit perfectly distanced away from each other in chairs throughout the hallways, and that's just kind of boring and isn't really a big issue either. About as boring as this transition, and that's because I want to talk about the snap feature. Way back when, in the good old days, this feature just didn't work, but now, you know, it does, and it was kind of cool when it happened. I thought it was interesting in comparison to quite literally everything else in the game. It was just kind of unique. Now, I want to go ahead and talk about the alternative game mode that I mentioned near the beginning, 1980s mode. But beforehand, we're going to just do a quick lightning round of random mechanics that I either don't like, niche things I found, or just straight up bugs. There's a bug where the characters will just get stuck and start spinning. Every minute in the game is somewhere around 15 seconds, and that's already dumb, but time also just pauses if you get on your phone or if you talk to somebody, which makes the pacing of this game absolutely abysmal. Yes, there is a speed up time feature, but it also sucks. The inputs randomly change to show Xbox controls? I don't know why. I couldn't even talk about a feature called Yandere Vision, which I plan on talking about. It's essentially just Hitman's instinct, and it broke. It broke on me. I don't know what happened. It just randomly decided to stop working even after restarting the game. So you don't get to hear about that really. The way to get some minor buffs is by buying panties. This has been a thing, but I have a problem with it. I think that getting buffs and whatnot is fine, but make it like a necklace or earrings or a hair clip you wear. We're supposed to be in school, so it's just kind of weird. You can change your personality in a mirror, which in talking situations gets certain people to like you more depending on which personality you're currently using, along with changing how you walk. But it's a cycle instead of a drop-down menu or something, and I don't like that. There's definitely a bunch of stuff that I 100% forgot about, but there's just so much in this game, and to keep this video in a timely manner, so we're gonna go ahead and go to 1980s mode. As I mentioned earlier, 1980s mode is where we play as the main protagonist's mother back in, well, you know, the 1980s. Turns out she's also a complete psycho and also murdered a bunch of people that got in her way. As I mentioned back in the beginning, practically everything's like the same. The only major differences is InfoChan was just obliterated and replaced with a notepad explaining on how to do everything without having to take any weird panty shots, which I appreciate. Some of the changes are that all the students are different, the gaming room isn't the gaming room yet, and you know, that's about it. Oh yeah, did I mention that this mode is done? Meaning that there is 10 rivals that you have to defeat. And there's about 2 major things that I can say makes this mode just arguably better than the main game, and that's 1, the tutorial is simple and actually works well with the game, as I got mad about earlier. It explains all the basics that you really need, kind of how the final test in the main game did, just way faster, simpler, and it actually made me mad because why isn't the main game just explained like this? And 2, the game gives an easy way of how to take out each rival. Each rival has a unique way of killing them, just like the main game, but rather than it being a, you know, good luck method like the main game, your character gives a hint when mentioning the rival of a way that could possibly take them out. I actually like the second rival's hint on how to take care of her, because it just says you play with fire and you get burned, and turns out the special way to kill her is, well, you guessed it, fire. And it was just a lot more engaging than how the main game went about it. Now, the problem with this mode is that it's still Yandere Simulator. Basically, every issue that I mentioned previously is still kind of a problem. And a huge issue is the fact that you can just blow through every single rival. Once the first one's taken care of, you waste the rest of the first week getting friends, and boom, you can basically take out every other rival day one. Day one! I played this mode enough to kill about 3 of the rivals, and I did such over about 2.5 hours. A solid hour and a half of that was just the first rival and me making friends, and another half an hour of that was me idling and getting the stats up. Meaning with the remaining time, I wasted maybe only 15 minutes tops on the other 2 rivals, and honestly, I didn't even continue to the 4th one because I figured it would be the same loop. This game mode though, in comparison to the main game, feels a lot more polished. It's still rough around the edges, and I have no idea why this mode even exists, but it gives a taste of at least what this game could have possibly been, and honestly, that angers me. Congrats, you made it to the end with me, and now we get the overall final review, which is like a 4 out of 10. God, this game was absolutely fantastic at being so incredibly mediocre. I definitely have some bias, and that's because this game just feels like a much worse version of Hitman 2, a game that I love, with an anime filter slapped onto it. I wasn't engaged, the gameplay was rather monotonous and dull. A lot of the old Let's Play videos that made this game look fun, just, boy, were they good at editing. Now, if you didn't somehow know, Yandere Dev is notorious for being a pretty perverted person with a lot of messed up controversies, which I won't talk about because there's plenty of videos out there by people who do much better job at explaining. I just wanted to see how this game was, despite all of this, and honestly, I wish I hadn't. Knowing some of the creepy things and weird warnings, it just made me feel weird about a lot of situations while I was playing. This is not a game to be excited for. This is not a game I'd get if it wasn't free, and honestly, with how this experience was, I wouldn't get it if it was. Even the debug mode, which was a pretty popular thing back when the game wasn't a full demo, I think was actually just terrible. Everything it did was either visual only, which doesn't help with how boring the game is, or the only special thing it did was making killing people super easy and in mass amounts, which I'll admit was, pretty fun for a whole 10 minutes, but in a game that's supposed to be about being sneaky and getting away with murder, it really shows an issue with the game if I'm only enjoying the exact opposite of what this game is seemingly supposed to be about. There's nothing more I can really think to say that I haven't already stated. There's definitely things I missed, and I could care less. So, thanks for joining me on this terrible adventure if you made it this far, and I hope to see you in the future.